Now, we're running commercials for your program that offers people the opportunity of drawing some cash, even expats, or especially expats, drawing some cash against the property that they own in Thailand. And we had loads of questions.
Okay.
And I'm going to kind of open up by saying that I'm one of your customers, because otherwise we wouldn't have a radio station. So I was very pleased with it.
Understood.
So there's your little pat on the back.
Thank you.
Tell me about the concept.
The concept was brought to us many years ago. We had a client that come in that wanted to borrow some money against her land, and she was a foreigner and she couldn't do it. So she asked me if I could try to raise some money against her land. We hadn't done anything like this, so I just asked a couple of clients, and I got one of my clients that used to do this many years ago in a different country, and I went to him and someone else, and we raised the money. And we lent her the money, and that was the start of our loan scheme many years ago.
Okay, so I have to be careful because in America, scheme actually means scam.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's a program.
Program.
It's
okay.
very, very
sorry,
important.
Sorry.
It's not a scheme.
Program.
So basically, to explain, you tell me where I get this wrong. If somebody owns a property, it doesn't matter if they own it in a company name, especially in a company name. It's fine, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fine. Doesn't matter.
Okay, so they own the house, and whatever it's worth, whether it's worth 2 million or 20 million, you will lend up to 50% of the valuation that your valuer puts on the property.
Correct.
And so you contact Magna Carta, talk to Tony, and you send somebody out to value their property.
Yes. What I do is that we have 2 or 3 lawyers that have taken the valuation. Believe it or not, there is a valuation course in Thailand that shows you how to proper value property.
I wish they'd teach some real estate agents, because they just say, what do you want for it? And you're like, oh, yeah, 100 million.
So we send one of our valuers there. What he'll do is that he'll check the property over, he'll check the legality of it, make sure that it's legal. He'll then use many factors to come up with the price, including, well, it can be many things. If it's a house, the size of the access road, how close it is to amenities. There's probably about 30 or 40 points that they use. But then they come back with a price, and that price is what that house or property would be valid for in this condition, let's say COVID market.
Right.
So let's say he comes back, he's got a condo, he's valued at 3 million baht, everything's legal, I've got the valuation reports, and now I can go back to the guy and say, right, I can lend you up to 1.5 million against
So it's 50%.
Correct.
50% of the valuation that you put on it.
Correct.
Somebody comes to you and they do this, and they sign up basically for a year.
Well, we basically say it has to run for a minimum of 6 months, a maximum of 1 year, but it can be extended as long as
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, it can always be extended.
To explain again, when you borrow the money, added on to the loan is the interest for the first year. So actually the borrower doesn't have to make any payments during the first year if he doesn't want to.
Yeah, we've relaxed that a little bit. What we used to do was take all the interest up front. Now we'll take some of the interest up front. So, for example, if the loan was for a year, we'd take 6 months interest up front, so there's nothing to pay for 6 months.
Right.
And then at the end of 6 months, we can give them the option before they take out the loan. Do they want to continue paying monthly? Do they want to pay quarterly? Do they want to pay another 6 months up front?
Right. So if you get to the end of the year...
Yes.
And you still haven't got the cash to pay, but you know it's going to come at some point, you can renew this loan.
Yeah, you can do 1 or 2 things. Well, you can do 3 things. You can pay it back, or you can reduce it somewhat and then continue to pay the interest on the reduced amount, or you can continue to pay the interest on the actual amount.
Right. Okay.
I mean, basically, we want you to continue. If you want to pay it back, of course, we'll take it. But we have no issues you wanting to extend it because the interest is just ongoing.
Right.
So it's not a problem.
Right, just like a bank.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly like a bank. So the other questions we've had that have come up over the past couple of weeks, what happens if you die?
If you die, then your heirs take over. If you die, it becomes part of your estate.
Right.
So then your heirs take over.
So you have a lien on it. Let's just explain. You actually put a mortgage lien on the deed for the property.
Same as a high street bank, yeah.
Right,
exactly
so you have to have a deed for the property.
Yes, of course, yes.
And you register that against the Chinook at the land office.
Correct.
So if you died, your family inherits the house, they sell the house, pay you off just like they would a regular mortgage.
Correct.
And end up with a balance.
Correct.
What happens if somebody gets divorced?
There would be a debt against the property.
Yes.
So under divorce, it will be according to what they agreed in the actual divorce.
Right.
So if they agreed that was joint property and they both agreed they both had to pay back half the debt, or they agreed that even though it was joint assets, it's passed over to the husband, so now the husband has to pay off the debt and he ends up with the property. It's all down to the divorce agreement.
Okay. What happens if you can't pay? Are you looking to snatch the house?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay, so
I don't want the house, and I can't snatch the house. That's the whole point. The whole point of registering a mortgage, there is a process that you have to follow. So the process is basically, if you come to me and say, look, I've got a problem, I can't pay for another 3 or 4 weeks, then it's not so much of a problem. We'll just try and work with you. Everyone tries to work together. If you come to me and say, I can't pay it, but I'll pay you in 6 months, then we have to start the process, because if we say yes and 6 months comes and you still can't pay, we've just lost 6 months.
Right.
But the process still allows you to get out of this. So the process is as follows. First of all, number one, we have to send you a notice saying that we've cancelled the mortgage and we're giving you 60 days to pay.
Right.
Now, within those 60 days, if you can sell the house, then fine. Come back to me. Everything's finished. We sell the house. We take our money, our interest, and you get the rest of the money. After 60 days, if you can't pay, then we have to start the court case.
How long does it take for that court case?
Probably round about 6 to 8 months, and then probably about another 6 to 8 months to get it into the auction. So round about 1.5, 2 years.
Right, so you're looking to support the customers. You're not, because that is a long process.
Well, that's the process by the law. So what it happens, you've got two people, the borrower and the lender. So the lender, even though it's in default, the interest is still ticking up. It just means that he can't get the interest every month. He's going to get everything at the end. So what would happen is that during that process, if the guy can sell the house, great, he comes back to me, we work out who gets what, and he ends up with the money. You know, we get the mortgage and the interest and whatever the legal fees were, and then he gets the rest of the money. If he can't sell the house, then what happens is that we have to use the court order and send it to legal execution. Legal execution will seize the property. They'll put it into public auction.
Right, so that's the negative side. But so we leave that to one side. I just wanted to ask that question to be fair to our to our viewers and listeners.
Yeah.
The positive side. Now, you're doing quite a bit of this business now. We won't talk about how much, but you are certainly doing a lot of this business now. What reasons are you finding that customers or borrowers have? Why are they borrowing? I mean, I know why we borrow. I borrowed money because otherwise we would have had to close the radio station because we just had no income through the COVID years. What other reasons are you getting from customers?
Well, we get different. It depends whether it's corporate or private. Corporate, like developers and people like that, they might want to borrow money to continue a development.
So you're actually working with developers as well?
Yeah, many of them, many of them. And the private person, the normal reason is because of the COVID and everybody knows the property prices have crashed. So, for example, let's say somebody's got a house worth that pre-COVID was 25 million. And now he's getting offers of 17 and 18 million, but he knows really his house is worth 25 million. But he hasn't got enough money. Yeah, at one point, and he hasn't got enough money to get through. So what he'll do, he'll come to me, maybe he'll borrow 2 or 3 million. That gives him 2 or 3 years breathing space, so he doesn't have to sell his house at 17 million. And when that housing market comes back, if he can sell it at 25, he borrowed 3, so he's got 22, but he's still got more than 17.
Right.
So it's people just thinking that they don't want to fire sell their property.
So you're actually you're just saying, okay, I know I'm going to sell this place.
Yes.
But you're basically saying, okay, I'm going to sell this place, but I'm going to give myself an advance on a sale that doesn't exist yet, but it will do.
Yeah, it's like breathing space. Right. That's all it is. That's all it is.
Because there's a lot of people going around trying to buy property and steal it, which is fair enough if they've got the cash. But if you're a seller, you're sitting looking, not a chance.
Well, I think around about a year ago, there was many things out for fire sales, but what I'm seeing now is that people that had to get out of the market have got out of the market, and the rest of us that own property are saying, well, we're just going to wait till it recovers.
Right, and you lend on property, land, you'll lend on houses, and you'll lend on condos?
Yes.
Anything?
And yes, and the area. I have to be fair. For example, if you owned a condo, I don't know, say North Shore, North Point or something like that, which is like premium Wongamat or something like that, we may well even go up to maybe 60 or 65% loan to value because it's grade A security.
But you lend on property that's not in this area?
Yes, we do. I've got some loans in Chiang Mai, Koh Samui, Phuket. But the difference is this also: if somebody owns a house, let's say, worth 10 million baht on the top of Korlat Mountain, and he wants to borrow 5 million baht, I'd probably turn that loan down, because every loan that I do, I have to look for what happens in the worst case.
Right.
How can I recover the money?
So if a house in a remote village, you're not going to be lending money
No,
against.
because
But if
I
it was
end
in
up-
the city of Korat, or if it was in Chiang Mai, or if it was in Phuket City.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, but I'll look at it. Maybe I'll lend 35 or 40% loan to value. I've always got to look at the worst case.
Right.
So the house in Korlat, I'm not going to get many people wanting to buy a house on top of a mountain.
No.
So that's why.
Right. Okay. Well, I think these are the important questions, and I think, and as I said, we've used it, or I've used it personally, because otherwise we wouldn't have a radio station.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, I must say, for your radio station, Tommy, I used to think that you only had 3 or 4 listeners, to be honest with you.
now I've got 5.
But, well, I think you've got more than that, because ever since we've been advertising, I'm getting loads and loads and loads and loads of inquiries, so it works.
I have to send you a really big invoice.
It works.
Big Tony, thank you so much for being us on the radio today,
You're welcome.
and thank you for joining us. And
Thank
you'll
you
come
for
back and again and see us very soon.
Yes.
And next time we'll be slick like we normally are, as opposed to the few little odd things that have happened in this hour, because we're totally unused to having guests in the studio.
We haven't done it for a long time.
No, nor's Megan. Okay.